We're live. It's the Jack and Joe show. Welcome along to what is going to be a very special episode. Joe Sansom, we are here live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and we're here to discuss some very, very, very interesting stuff. Fulham winning by 6-2, 2 games in a row, unheard of.
Unheard of. And then we've got the 7-0 before that. I mean, there's no point asking how either of us are because, I mean, how can you not be good when this is going on? I mean, it's just crazy, and it was so weird last night that the 6-2 win didn't feel that like massive. It didn't feel that historic purely because of what's come before, and we shouldn't really be feeling like that. Like, this is an unbelievable scoreline. We've scored 6 again. 19 goals, and I said to you just before we started, I tallied it up, little stat just for my own personal record sort of thing. I've been to 14 games this season, home and away. In the first 11 of those, we scored 18 goals, and in the last 3, we've scored 19. And we've been pretty free scoring all season, which just means that stat's even more crazy. But yeah, what did you think of last night?
I thought it was pretty. We weren't great, but we managed to score 6 goals, and that's what I'm finding so fascinating. And even against Bristol City, which of course we'll just touch on, because obviously we haven't done an episode since. We weren't great there either, and we went a goal down twice and still managed to win 6-2. But last night, I think showed over the last 2 or 3 games, obviously, it showed the clinicalness of this team, and we've actually had performances where we've played really well and either not got a result or not scored enough goals to show for it. And it's ironic because now we're not playing at the top of our game, albeit against opponents who are sort of mid-table-ish. But we're really putting the goals away and in some style. And 6 goals last night, Joe, without Mitrovic, which is, well, as in not Mitrovic scoring, which is really interesting.
Yeah, isn't it? Sort of means all those claims that we were a one-man team are just completely void if they weren't already. I mean, we know that Mitrovic has been unbelievable this season. This sort of form has never been seen before in the Championship, and he will break the record unless, like touchwood, something unbelievably bad happens in terms of either form or anything else. I agree that we weren't great last night, and that just makes it even more fascinating that we scored 6. We weren't amazing on Saturday either. I thought the Bristol City performance was better than last night, but just in terms of the goals, it looks like we can score at any moment, and all these goals seem to be coming in flurries. The Bristol City game, 4 in about 15 minutes. Last night, 3 in just under 10. It's just unbelievable the way that we're going forward, because I thought we played better in the Bournemouth game than we did on Saturday or last night in terms of the overall performance until we get to the box. It really feels like after that Sheffield United game when we had the big rest due to all the postponements, that they worked on something in terms of finishing, because what we've seen may not be sustainable long term, even though it's not that fun to say that. But it's certainly been fun for the last few days, and long may it continue, because I didn't think that we'd score 6 again last night. No. I really thought that the Bristol City game was the end of this crazy run. Who's to say we can't go and do the same at Stoke?
Be interesting, because I feel like Stoke is the hardest game out of our last 4 fixtures, including obviously the Stoke game. So it will be interesting against a Stoke team who are hovering in and around looking for a playoff spot, beat Hull on Sunday 2-0, have a decent squad. It's just, can we be this ruthless away from home with an expectant crowd at Stoke? It's obviously going to be a tough atmosphere. Lost last time we went under a completely different manager, and we decided to play 3 at the back with some wing backs, and it didn't go particularly to plan. But let's just dive straight into last night. We can touch on Bristol City as well, because of course it's still relevant. But last night was last night, and I thought Fabio Carvalho, we've actually said that we had a couple of decent games. He didn't play well against Reading or Bristol City in the Cup, but boy, he was good last night. He actually got the man of the match performance. We'll touch on him, and of course Anthony Robinson as well.
Yeah, I mean, what do we know, Jack? Those were the two changes that we were considering before the Bristol City game.
Yeah.
And in both of them, since then, both games, they've both been fantastic. I mean, Robinson, if Fabio Carvalho hadn't put in the performance he did, I think he would have been a shoo-in for the man of the match, even without his goal at the end. I thought he was really, really good. And something changed at half-time at Reading with him, well, to be honest, and most of the team. He looks a different player. His confidence seems to be sky high all of a sudden when it was lagging a bit, and we were worried about him going forward and defensively. He's just been top notch. But Carvalho, I just want him to sign the contract, and I want the reassurance of him being ours next season, because last night he was so good, and on the half turn, running into space. I don't know if there's a better player in this league. You can really see comparisons between some fine attacking midfielders in the past, drifting in from the left-hand side. He scored an identical goal last night that he did for our third on Saturday. And the header as well. I mean, I didn't even know he had that in his locker. He's quite a small player, and Etheridge was absolutely rooted to the spot. Man of the match for me, 100%, and definitely got to start the next game. And for the foreseeable future, I do think that his movement means that he is Premier League quality at this age already. I really do. I don't think we've got another player in the team that offers what he can do. Interestingly, the way we started the game yesterday was quite slow. Even regardless of the first goal, we hadn't had a shot until around the 28th minute, I think, when Cabano finally scored our first goal from open play ourselves. So what do you think? I mean, were you worried at 1-0, or did you still sort of think, well, even though this has been a bit of a quiet start to the game by our standards, we've still got enough to... Well, put it this way, did you see 6 coming when it was 1-0 at 25 minutes? Because I didn't.
No, I didn't see 6 coming because, again, it's an unheard of scoreline. But it is a point there that when we score early, i.e. in the first 10, 15 minutes, we genuinely go on and score quite a lot of goals. And of course, we scored the own goal on like the 9th or 10th minute. And from there, it was like, Birmingham got a chance to still get back in the game. And but they weren't very good. We were controlling the ball so well. Kearney from deep, unbelievable. Just so good in that position. And we'll talk about that because obviously Seri's not even in the squad right now. It's unbelievable what's going on. But they didn't pose much of a threat. Jutkiewicz was quiet, and I thought Birmingham didn't offer much really, and we didn't really allow them to. Every time we lost the ball, we were straight back in there to win it back and just dominated the play. And I thought, ironically, Mitrovic probably had one of his better Fulham games in a Fulham shirt, just because when he doesn't score, you still notice him and you'll still be like, oh, where's Mitrovic? And what's Mitrovic been doing today? And his link-up play last night was just fantastic. Like, really, really good. And that's the sort of side to Mitrovic that we need because when we don't need to rely on him for goals, him to create and for assists are just as important. But no, I thought before the second goal we played, the game was probably played at a bit of a slower pace. And that is when Fulham, we've seen this before, that the trends of Fulham, when we score 3 goals, 2 or 3 goals in a really short space of time. We did it at Forest, Reading, and then last night, and I think Bristol City as well. Like, so many, like, we score and then we just pounce and pounce and pounce. And I was watching, because I always do, and I think everyone does, match day vlogs from the opposition view. And the fans are just like, what are we meant to do about this? Fulham are just too good. And there's being ruthless, but then I think that's another level. And even when Fulham didn't really get out of second gear, I'm talking in the whole game. It's just when we get into that final third that we're like, we could just pick teams apart here. We've got like Kearney, Carvalho, Cabano, Wilson. Like, anyone could just pick apart any defense in that division. So no, I wasn't nervous, but I didn't expect 6, Joe. And that's where, of course, the second goal came from with Cabano, third great header from Carvalho, and the 4 from TC and Tom Kearney. Just fantastic from him.
I think that 4th goal has got to be my favourite of the bunch. I mean, we've just scored 2 in really quick succession, as you've said. You're thinking Birmingham are going to have to give a bit of a reaction here. Obviously, they ended up doing that just before half-time, but not here. Get possession back, and we must have passed it around for ages. Every player on the pitch was getting a touch. We had it in and around their box for so long, just waiting for the opportunity. But it felt different to Parker's style of football, or even Djukanovic's style of football, where it was more not I don't want to say passing for passing's sake, but maybe tiring out the opposition. This felt like we were going to have a shot as soon as the chance became available, and we were going to work an opportunity no matter how long it took. And we did. And as soon as it came, Kearney just passes it into the net beautifully off the post. And you could see, if you look at these logs, the reaction of Birmingham fans is a mixture of some that are livid at just giving us so much time and space on the ball, which you can understand. And the others are just going, well, yeah, like you said, what are we meant to do? And, we've been there before in the Premier League when you go against some of these sides like Man City, which I'm sure we'll come on to, where it almost feels inevitable when they're coming forward that they're at least going to create a chance. And these last few games, it's felt like that with us. And I haven't felt like that before as a Fulham fan. I haven't felt this inevitability that we're going to score. And now I'm feeling it every time we flood forward. It's just a weird feeling, and I hope it does continue because, I'm not saying we're going to suddenly score 6 and 7 every game, but the amount of chances we're creating and high quality chances is as it was at the start of the season, but the clinical nature of our finishing has just gone up a level. Players like Carvalho improved so much. Carvalho, even if you think back to the run that we had around October when we were beating teams for fun, his first goal came in Nottingham Forest away. And then the next game against West Brom, he missed a sitter. I think maybe 2 sitters, in fact. He was clean through twice. Once against QPR, I can remember. Open goal against Bournemouth. I feel like even since then, and the Bournemouth game was only in December, he's become a different player again. And it must have been, seen some comments come up about, is this Louis Boumorte's influence? It does remind you of that sort of player where just the finishing is the part of his game which I don't think he ever quite had, and now we've got it, and he's got it. And the debates come in: could he do it in the Premier League? If we're saying Wilson can, then why are we saying Carvalho can't? I know there's the argument that Wilson's done it before for Bournemouth and played a few games there for Liverpool as well, but I've been one of the people that's been saying if we do go up, a left winger is probably a crucial signing. Now I'm thinking, as much as I still do think we need another winger, can we just discard Carvalho? Because I don't think we can.
No. You can't ignore that sort of form. No. And when a player gets that sort of form under a certain manager or under a certain coach or under a certain system, if you were then to bring that system forward into an upper level, that player fits the bill. And yes, I feel like left wing is a position we need to get another one in if we were to go up. But Cabano's got to be first choice because he's earned that space. And this is sort of, the argument of, players would go up and then we replace them, they never get the chance in the Premier League. I feel like we'll get more players who had a chance last season, as in like when we went up under Parker and went up under Slav. We'll get more players from this current team as a chance in the Premier League than any one of our teams. And I know that's like, what about Ream and what? But again, like, I think he might know because he's been there and done it. He might not be up to Premier League standard. But like Robinson, I know he's been there and done it under Parker, but like Seri, Cabano, just like Wilson, like all these players, Carvalho, hopefully, Natty Chabs, you never know because he's on a permanent. So it's very exciting. It's very promising. But let's just keep ourselves a little bit grounded. 5 points clear at the top. Brilliant. But I was just saying to you before we went live, it takes a couple of slip-ups. Someone like Bournemouth and Blackburn, who played tonight, of course, to take advantage. And we're back in the playoff position. So we really cannot get too carried away. All we've got to do is keep trying to score more goals, keep picking up those 3 points. And eventually, I reckon a gap will start to appear just because I think we are better. We are more superior to the teams that are below us. And yeah, just fantastic. Anything more you want to say on last night? Maybe touch on Robinson?
Yeah. I mean, just brilliant performance from him and brilliant celebration as well after the goal. Interesting that all 3 of his goals this season, League and Cup, have come in added on time at the end of the 90, which is very strange. And 2 of them are coming against Birmingham because one was obviously in the League Cup first round.
Yeah, it was a very similar goal as well.
Really similar goal. One thing I would say is just following on from your point there, this is true. We've had 3 games. Bristol City in the Cup, I don't really care too much about. Fine, it was good that we got back to winning ways, but we move on. These 3 league games we had to win. 3 league games we should have won. We're better than all 3 sides, and they're all quite poor defensively. So, I feel like we were always going to batter some teams this year. We've seen that already. The margin is obviously fantastic. I do agree we need to keep a little bit grounded because Stoke is going to be so much harder than these games that we've had just now. But we can't ignore how good these days have been because they're not going to come around very often, and we've
Mm,
got to enjoy it while it lasts, which is why we've gone live tonight. I've enjoyed going to these 3 games so much and just
mm.
seeing the goals flood in. Wish there could have been slightly more at the Hammersmith end rather than the Putney end, but even so, we can't complain too much. We had 5 in front of us at Reading, so um, this period couldn't have gone much better. We just need to keep it going because it's been so fun. I tweeted that before. I've not had this much fun supporting Fulham in possibly ever. These last few
Mm.
games, they've just been so fun to watch, and long may it continue.
It's just so fun. It's just ridiculous. You look around and think, how many are we actually going to get tonight? And can we surpass what we got in the previous game? And who's going to score? And what sort of goal tally we're going to be on after this game? And look, we're on 70 goals, and with 30 off 100, I think we could potentially get that pretty soon. Not within the next like 6 or 7 games, but I'm talking maybe by the end of the season, which is remarkable feats. And I'm in awe of this team and Marco Silva. We need to talk about the manager now because we can talk about the players as much as we can, but it's the system. And I'll hark back to that live stream we did right on the day that he appointed, and we were all sort of like not sure. Could be good, could be great, could be a disaster, and it's turned out to be great so far. And he's even getting some attention from the Premier League and Everton going, oh, so Everton fans going, oh, we should get Marcus Silva back. Look what he's doing at Fulham. There's a different level, it's a different opponents, and he's got a good attack in what we've got here at Fulham. Everton's, as you know, they've got Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, and they score goals, but you know, players around them, Damari Gray, Andrew Townsend, could they deliver on these levels? I'm not too sure. But what do you want to say about Marco Silva, Louis Boamorte, the influence they've had on this team ever since that game against Coventry? I think we've lost, was it 1 game since
Once,
then?
I think, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a bad day at the office. And Sheffield United and that run previous to it was a bad run. But again, like I say, if that was our bad run, I'll take it because right now it's as good as ever.
Yeah, I mean, some people I think sometimes don't give Marco Silva and his team the credit they deserve. When he took over in the summer, forget about the squad for a second in terms of its quality. It was a hard job in terms of reintegrating players,
Mm,
deciding who to keep, massive bloated squad, a mixture of players who are fuming because they haven't been involved twice now in Premier League campaigns, like Seri. Um, Players that have just been completely cut adrift from the squad, like Cabano, and sent on loan when we needed goals. And the togetherness of this squad is incredible. The morale seems to be as high as ever. And, you can say, yes, he's got the best squad in the league to work with, so you expect first place. But to do it in this manner, scoring this many goals, has never been seen before. I think Norwich last season scored 75 off the top of my head goals all
really?
season. They won the league convincingly. We have already scored 70. Let's face it, we're going to score 6 more at some point. Could it be on Saturday alone? You never know.
Be
It's
mental if
just,
it did.
it's this level of goals hasn't been seen before. He's getting stuff out of players that we've never seen. Mitrovic's never played this well. Cabano's never played this well, and he's been given a consistent run of games to show it. Seri's been brought back in. Kearney's been brought back in. Ream's
Mm.
been trusted again. Adoy, going forward, has been
Yeah.
fantastic, which
Great
we've never
assist.
seen before. Great assist, his 4th of the season. Would you believe that that is double the tally of Carvalho even this season? Adoy, who's only been a bit part player with 4
Really.
assists. The job he's done has been brilliant, and a lot of people will say Everton job, Watford, Hull, he gets his head turned. He's now been at Fulham for more games than he was at Hull or Watford. So I'm
Wow.
hoping that we can move past the
That
Watford
narrative.
way it got a bit dirty, and also the Hull, it was just before they got relegated. The Everton, was it the way it ended a bit of a worry? Yes. But are the expectations there a lot higher? Also, yes. So we have to remember our job is to get promoted this season and then stay up. And we've got a manager who has done it before. So
Mm.
the way I see it, long may it continue. And this attacking football is my favourite since I've been following Fulham. I wasn't old enough to go on his team.
Mm.
And Slavisa's football, as much as I loved it, I prefer this because I think it's more direct in terms of going for more goals and going
Mm.
for the kill. Loved watching Djukanovic's football so much, but this to me is as Lee Bowyer said yesterday, it's a different animal.
incredible. Lee Bowyer was fair in his assessment of the game. I thought Nigel Pearson was fair in his assessment of the game on Saturday. And yeah, just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. I can't believe what's really going on. It's sort of like you don't want to take it for granted. You don't want to be like, oh, how many are we going to get to? Like, enjoy the ride. Hopefully, we go to a very tough place, the Bet365 Stadium on Saturday, and get another 3 points. Because I genuinely think, like, yeah, it's fun to score the goals, but win 1-0 with a scrappy, like, 15th minute own goal, take it any day of the week. And we'll take it and run because that's important. And yeah, a bit of housekeeping before we move on to Stoke. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. The yo-yo narrative that's going on Twitter right now, it's so boring. And Jack J. Collins with a wonderful tweet to basically put everyone in their place. And some people replying with the most ridiculous of arguments saying, well, if you're in the Premier League for 15 years out of 30, that equals 1 up, 1 down. Please, 13 years in a row doesn't make sense. And then there was something else. I can't quite remember it. Maybe we'll come back to it at the end. Stoke City, big game. Impressive on Sunday against the whole team who we are relying on tonight against Blackburn Rovers, but they were poor. I mean, really poor. And I think when we go to the KCOM, apart from the chips, which I'm very much looking forward to, thanks to Footy Scran for again, revitalising my intentions to go to the KCOM. I think that could be a field day for Fulham if we really got on song. But Stoke's going to be tough. I mean, let's not put it past them. You know, that game under Parker, the 2-0 loss, still lives long in the memory. I mentioned it earlier, of course. That was an away game where a lot of people did turn on Parker and confronted him face to face, interestingly. But this is under a different regime, different manager. I think we've got enough to beat them on our day, but they've still got some dangerous players, Stoke, and could be a threat.
Yeah, could be a couple of experienced signings in the last week or so. Phil Jagielka, who slotted straight into their defence, obviously after Derby weren't allowed to keep him or extend his contract, I should say. And also Baker, who's been with Chelsea for what feels like forever. So it's interesting to see how they go. They've obviously had a break midweek. They didn't have any rearranged fixtures for this slot, so we will be slightly more tired, but we've got the squad to cope with it. That's not an excuse at all. And put it this way, I think Stoke will be more nervous than we are. It's a tough game, but it is one we should be winning. They have dropped off a bit, and some of their results at home have been really poor recently. Lost at home to Preston, who have been going quite well under their new manager, but they also lost at home to Derby. And although Derby are obviously doing very well, these are 2 games that they weren't expecting to lose. 1, let alone 2. It's a game we should be going for 3 points, as you say. I don't care if we score and it comes off someone's like arse in the 10th minute and just goes in. I really don't care how we do it. Just need to keep the wins coming, because after looking at some of our competitors, their games on the weekend a bit easier. I would expect Bournemouth to beat Hull. I would expect Blackburn to get something from Hull tonight at the time of speaking. For those that who aren't watching it live, might have already happened. It's just one of those. We just need to keep the winning run going. The performance is almost secondary at the moment. Keep the results going, keep the lead going at the top, try and extend it if possible. So as you say, 2 slip-ups and we're back in trouble. But I don't see this team slipping up majorly at the moment, just because of the confidence that's flowing through the team. And if we turn up, I expect to win.
Any changes? Kenny Tete obviously left out last night. Adoy was brilliant. He was fine. I don't want to disrespect Adoy, but like, if you want to play your best team, you do stick Kenny Tete back in there if he's had a rest in midweek. Bobby D. Cordova-Reid, Natty Chabs. I mean, any of these players can come in, but I feel like the 11's just so good at the moment. Squad harmony. I don't think anyone's going to be replaced. Maybe Tete you can make an argument for.
I think Tete is the only change I would make, purely because I think he was rested last night. I don't think it was tactical, and Adoy did fine. Great cross for the goal. A few small mistakes that we shouldn't nitpick too much, but mistakes that I don't think Tete would have made, that put us under a little bit more pressure than need be in the first half at times, between going 1-0 up and 2-0 up. So I put Tete back in. I don't think I'd change anything else unless there were fitness issues. Could Kearney play again? I mean, he came off quite early, but I'm not sure. I think I'd leave it at that. I think that'd be the only change I'd make. I've been enjoying the cameos of Chalobah, Muniz, Onuma, etc. All coming, all coming on. I think I'd leave it with that. I think I'd make one change. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking in the pub last night thinking, oh, we could bring in Bobby D Cordova Reed for Carvalho, and he could just interchange with Wilson like he does in the 10 and on the right hand side, which would be nice. But I think I'm underestimating how good this Fulham team is on their day. And with Kearney back to his best, I don't really want to just drag him out the team just because, oh, he might have a few fitness issues. Play him for 60 then and just bring on Natty Chabs when need be. Because Kearney last night was imperious and just on the weekend as well. And it's so good to see a player who's just had such a rough time of injuries but be playing back to his best in the league where he thrives the most. And I'd love it if we went up, he had some part to play next season if we go up, of course. Because obviously, will he find the Premier League too much at his age, at his fitness stage? I'm not sure. But it's certainly a player to have in the squad in the 25. Good to see Josh Onoma last night as well. We've got to mention good assist for Anthony Robinson and that nice backflip he did that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, did well coming on. I don't think it's a secret. I'm not Onoma's biggest fan normally, and I do think Chalobah is the superior player and the better option on the bench. But when I saw both of them come on, I thought they did really well, and it wouldn't surprise me if that was obviously injuries permitting elsewhere in the squad or including those two, that could be our midfield pairing against Man City. Just would not surprise me at all. So yeah, I thought he did really well. I thought he was forward thinking, and it was a sort of Onoma that we saw in August and September when he was really, really imperious in midfield and really surprised me. Did well, and yeah, I'm sure he'll be on the bench again and possibly get another cameo. But I'd keep the midfield the same if we can. And if I was going to bring someone in, it would be Chalobah rather than Onoma at this point in time.
Yeah, it was actually interesting that the fact that Mitrovic didn't score last night and Muniz is lurking on the bench. The only reason I reckon he didn't come on is because Silva wanted Mitrovic to get that goal, and he didn't. But it shows that no matter how many goals he's already got this season, he's always wanting more out of his team, and I think that's the philosophy he's sort of injecting throughout the whole squad. More. And like we went 3-0 up and everyone started singing "We want 7," and I was like, this is nuts, because we could actually get there. When it was 4-0 at half time, I was like, 4-1. I was
genuinely
like,
we could get 7. We could get 7, yeah.
I saw you in the concourse at half time, and I said 6-1, but just remarkable, honestly. Thanks to everyone in the stream. We haven't forgot about you guys. I'm reading your comments, and I'm going to bring them up a little bit later on when we do a little Q&A before we finish. Okay, let's talk about this quickly, because it's been a story. Christian Eriksen linked with Fulham, obviously linked with Brentford. It would make so much sense for him to go to Brentford, as much as I hate to say it. And come on, Manchester United tonight, by the way. But there's an argument to be made, which was a really good argument, that the Championship might suit Eriksen given the circumstances. He's doesn't have to play every game. Obviously, it's Saturday, Tuesday. I would be more than happy for him to play like 60 minutes each time. This is a ridiculous rumour, but one that doesn't... It's not ludicrous, is it?
It's not as ludicrous as some have made out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think this would be just an incredible signing, just unbelievable. Like, I don't think I believe it will happen, just because it seems very, very ambitious. But it does make some sense. He's coming back from that awful incident. He hasn't played any football since then. You can join a team where the standard of football will be a little bit more relaxed. And let's face it, it looks likely that we'll be in the Premier League next season. And, is it a time, I think Jack Collins pointed out, and Sammy pointed out brilliantly on Twitter, a time to build up some minutes before you get back into it. I mean, if you go to Brentford right now, don't get me wrong, perfect fit, and they're doing, I hate to say it, they're doing well in the Premier League. They don't look like going down. Yeah. He would probably get a starting spot, or at least play a lot of minutes. And then, he's being relied upon heavily. So would he want something a little bit more relaxed at the start? I don't know. Let's face it, everyone wants to go back to the Premier League, and he will want to play in the Premier League. Will he see us as a club that is going to be there next season and want to build it up slowly? I don't know. But it does sound like we're trying with that rumour, and that's ambition that I want to see. And it would be unbelievable to see Eriksen at Craven Cottage and not in an opposition shirt this time.
Very quiet on the transfer front. I don't think that's a shock. Remember this time last season, this time last year, we were getting very excited about one Josh Maja, and a lot of rumours were circling in January, and that was a very exciting time when we were on deadline day, and we thought we were going to sign him, Josh King. The whole thing was just ludicrous. This is an interesting one. TC or Seri, who should start when Seri's back from African Cup of Nations? Well, I think going off trends which Silva has done this season, it's players having to work their way back in the team rather than they're guaranteed their place back in the team. And I hate to say it, I love Seri with all my heart, honestly. But the way in which we're playing right now, the continuity in the starting 11, Seri would only disrupt that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think he'd be fine. But TC and Reed in the deep midfield positions right now are genuinely a joy to watch.
Yeah, like you say, that's Silva's style. I'm sure Seri, when he comes back, will first go onto the bench unless there's an injury and have to earn his spot back. And with Kearney's fitness issues, I'm sure he would get that spot back within a few games in terms of maybe starting one, next one on the bench, starting another one, depending on how the results go. But if Seri came back tomorrow for the Stoke game, I'd start Kearney and Seri would be on the bench because I just don't think you change this if you don't have to. I think it's that simple.
Well, let's get a score prediction for the Stoke game on Saturday, and then we'll get into some comments before we finish.
I am going to go with 2-0 Fulham. I cannot bet against us playing like this, but I really hope we can keep a clean sheet this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2-0. I do think we'll continue the winning run.
I agree. I think that's when you've won 2 games, albeit 6-2, Marcus Silva being Marcus Silva will look at that and go, well, that's 2 games without a clean sheet. And that will be the main focus for Saturday, I think he'll want to win, obviously, and score some goals, but that clean sheet will be the most important thing for him. So on that basis, I'm going to go with 3-0. I've never seen us win at Stoke. I've only been there once before. I think the last time we won there was the Chris Baird double.
Must have been. Yeah, must have been.
I think the time before we played them under Parker was the relegation day, which was awfully a horrible day.
That's been my only trip there. I'm not going on Saturday, but I did go. That was an awful day.
Yeah, not good.
Really liking the prediction in the chat, by the way, by Championship 21-22 winners that says 2-6 again.
Wonder who supports.
Oh yeah, I mean that would be unbelievable if we got that result again. It's just we got to touch on that for just 1 second. 6-2 is such a weird scoreline, by the way.
Really weird.
I can think of one this season, which was Sheffield United, Peterborough, very early on.
Yeah.
Which sort of burst my bubble a bit because I didn't think there'd been one, but then I remembered it.
Yeah.
Such a bizarre scoreline, and we've seen it twice in 4 days.
And also, it's it's a market that's both teams are scoring both halves, which is always paying high odds. And talking of odds, I know obviously this is like just betting talk, and obviously if you're, bet responsibly, whatever. Fulham's prices in the last 2 games is some of the lowest and shortest prices I've seen for a championship team in ever. 1.22 was the price when I last checked just before the game last night. And the odds of Birmingham winning was like 12-1, Bristol City was 15-1. This is like genuinely getting like Man City versus like Burnley in the Premier League. It's that sort of territory. Quite remarkable. Let's go with some comments. 4-0. I don't know who that's to. That indicates it's going to be Stoke, given that they're playing at home. This one makes 8-3 to Stoke. I'm guessing this is all Fulham wins, hopefully. Thoughts on Kongolo? Yeah, he's been rumoured to go to Netherlands on loan. That only came out a couple of hours ago, Joe.
Yeah, I think they said that Feyenoord were the front runners, but a few clubs interested in him there. Really interesting one, because if he's fit enough to play, then I'd be interested to see how he gets on, because I do think that on his day when fit, and it is a big if, because he's barely ever fit, how does he do? I think he's a Premier League quality player on his day. So really, really hope that he can overcome these injury issues. But we've said that with Mawson, it hasn't ever really happened. And it does look like we want to keep Mawson. That's another rumour that's sort of been bubbling a little bit. Almost looked like a bit of a statement last night, Marco Silva putting him on the bench rather than Hector when we played Birmingham, because for the last few weeks, it's been Hector on the bench every time.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So maybe a bit of a statement. They're also apparently interested in Knockaert, which fine with as well. I guess one thing we should mention is Christie has gone since our last video.
Oh yeah,
and
did we say he went?
even though it's a loan, I mean, he's gone for good because his contract's out at the end of the season.
Swans, yeah.
I mean, I've always liked Christie. I think he's been a good professional. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that? I mean, I guess he was always going to go soon.
Yeah, this scapegoat narrative of Christie is always one that always doesn't really sit with me. Whatever happened at Barnsley away that day, we'll never really know the truth. And I just see him as a good professional who does good charity work off the pitch. Never really complained. Always did okay for us. Basically, was involved with a couple of promotions. So he'll always go down as one of those decent players for us. I just think that the fans turned on him for reasons that don't. Maybe some performances weren't great, but I just think the performances, the stuff off the pitch, sort of, the fans sort of took that to heart a bit and actually clouded judgment on basic performances. And I didn't think that was quite fair on a player who's very good at this level and scored some nice goals for us. A big goal at QPR away, a nice goal at Millwall away in the Carabao Cup. So yeah, it's one that I don't like talking about because it always brings up some controversy, of course. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Matthew, my brother up in Manchester, I hope he's doing very well. I think we need to sign a backup centre back because Mawson could be leaving. Are we talking in January? Because I don't think that's going to happen, given that we've got some decent options. But in terms of the Premier League, that would probably be the first position to go for, centre back. But we were here, a couple of years ago, talking about the same thing. But hopefully, Marco Silva, draws the line. He goes, look, I've seen what's happened previously with Fulham. We're going to get all our business done early. But look, this is all talking if we go up. We're still a long way to go in this season. I'm always going to be that half glass empty sort of guy because pessimism is the way to go, really, because life's not what you think it is, really. And yeah, I think, well, let's have a look. Yeah, let's talk about this because I think we'll talk about it at a different show, but it's worth mentioning because everyone's getting very giddy for this game against Manchester City because we're scoring all these goals. We're chanting City, we're coming for you. And I think we could go up there and win. I genuinely feel like we could do it.
Oh, no.
I'm on the bandwagon where we could actually just absolutely go there and do a job on them. And I think Guardiola will be respecting what Fulham are doing right now and probably put out a very strong team, Joe.
Yeah, I'm sure he will, but I hope he doesn't. I hope he really disrespects us and plays the kid, so he got a chance. To be honest, because I'm still on the bandwagon that Man City is the one game, and I guess this is a compliment to them. The one game in England where I just have no confidence going into it ever. Anyone else, Liverpool, we beat them, we got a draw against them. United, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea. I feel like we can get a result against any of them on our day. City is just one of those where I just hate playing them. But this is the most positive we've been going ahead to playing them, like possibly ever. I mean, maybe we beat Liverpool just before we played them last season, but
beat Leicester as well, didn't we?
Yeah, beat Leicester as well. Yeah, that's true.
So we were really confident. Actually.
We were quite confident. Maybe this is the second most confident.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where I think we should play a team that's a bit of a mixture. I wouldn't play our first team because I don't think it's worth it. We've got a game only a few days later, but I'd play some strong players. I'd probably play Chalobah and Onoma. I would probably, play at least one of our wingers and try and get at them. Would I play Mitrovic? I'd probably give him at least a bit of the match to try and ruffle some feathers because he's probably going up against like Nathan Ake.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited for this game more than I was when the draw happened because I feel like they will rotate. Swindon scored against them, so why can't we?
Yeah.
And it should be a good day out for everyone going. They've got the safe standing section in the bottom tier now. Yeah. It's gone from a match that I'm dreading to a match that I'm interested by no matter what, because it's good practice for if we do go up in terms of where do we fare against these teams. Yes, it might be our rotated team against theirs, but I don't want to see us play against them like we have in previous cup competitions last few years when we've just got decimated and had like one shot let's take it to them. Let's have a go because it's
Mm.
the cup. We've got nothing to lose. Worst case scenario, we go out. Who cares?
It's got potential to be shock of the round. It really, really does. I don't see Kidderminster Harriers beating West Ham, and I think
Maybe
there's
Boreham Wood will win at Bournemouth. To be fair,
that's the one. I'd actually rather that happen than us. No, I'm joking. Obviously, it'd be
yeah,
great to
that'd be
get through
good.
to the 5th round. The problem is, you're right. Man City away is just that fixture where you go, unless you're really on it and you've got some sort of magic in your boots, like James Maddison and Vardy had that day. They beat them like, what was it, like 5-3 or 5-2? That was ridiculous. You're going to get beaten, and you're going to get beaten quite convincingly. But this is the best way to prepare for a sort of game like that, by scoring goals at will and bring them on. Honestly, a couple of weeks ago, I was furious. I was like, I can't believe we're going to have to go up to Manchester and basically get drunk to watch us lose 4-0. But I genuinely feel like, and the group chat's rumbling with, we can probably score. And a goal at the Etihad, if it's like 1-0 to us or 1-1, some like meaningful limbs will be really good. And I think that's the thing that the fans are looking forward to the most. And yeah, I think we'll go to about 45 minutes and then we'll call it a day. Let's just read some of the comments. Hello, Reese, watching. Hope you're enjoying the show, mate. Hope to catch you at a game soon. City going to miss a lot of players. Yeah.
I hope so. I hope they're missing about 40 if possible.
Want us to play a reserve team. Makes sense because we've got the Millwall game on the Tuesday, arguably much more important than that City game. But, if we want to beat City, we're going to have to play some of our really good players. You still have the likes of Jesus playing in the last round, so don't think there's much chance of a heavy rotation from them. Look, Guardiola is someone who respects the cup, and that's what I respect about him, because Klopp certainly doesn't. Man United.
I mean,
down
this
the
is
years,
the thing, isn't it?
Chelsea.
That they can heavily rotate and still play an unbelievable squad. So we've just got to give it a go. I don't want to see us park the bus and like succumb to a 4-0 defeat. I'd rather, if we're going to lose, we lose giving it a go, because we're in the cup. We got through. We earned our right to be here, and I'm sure that all the players are very confident that we can at least score. And it would be great for those that go up there to get a goal to celebrate. In that stand behind the goal, where we haven't celebrated many times since about 2008.
Yeah. But there is an argument to that, though, because if you say like, oh, we give them a go and like we play really quite expansively and quite open,
Yeah.
does that then argue the case that if we do go up, we're going to play that same way in the league when we're basically fighting relegation?
Should say within reason in terms of giving it a
Right.
go. I just keep going back to that game that we had against them when we lost 4-0. And yes, to be fair, our game plan was shattered by the Ream red card early on. But we had one shot in the game. I just want to see a bit more on the break, is what I mean by that, really. I mean, I don't think you can hold off Man City. I think they're going to score at some point against anyone. So, it's one of those where we've just got to take our chances when they come. But it'd be great. I've seen a comment to have Stansfield getting some minutes. I'd love to see that. I was hoping that he would get some minutes in when was he on the bench? The Bristol City game. Muniz was chosen. We'd already made the 2 other subs, so it's fine. But I'd like to see him getting some more minutes because he's not playing for the under-23s, because he's in and around the first team squad. So, you've sort of got to caveat it with, well, is it worth it, him being around the first team squad, if he's getting 0 minutes? And the cup is probably his only time to get significant amounts. So, yeah, I'd love to see him get some minutes. And yeah, Jasper's comment just come up. He's been recalled. Colchester fans, don't know if you saw, Jack, raving about him.
Well, they're fuming because Colchester are in a very perilous position right now. They're having fights between the fans and the owners. After Saturday's defeat, they lost last night in the last minute to Sutton United, and a player like Jasper could have really helped them in League Two. But look, we've recalled him because he's a good player, and hopefully there's some either plans to loan him back out. I know Sheffield Wednesday were linked with him in the summer, or maybe even get involved in the first team in and around the cup. You never know. The big question is, if we go to City away and Stoke away and we wear our away shirt, does that mean we have the license to shout yellows, yellows, yellows?
Bloody hope so.
That is the second dig at Norwich in a row at the end.
One thing I'll say on Norwich, if they can manage to stay up this season, it just proves that we can do it. It proves we can do it. As fuming as you'd be, Jack, it proves that this stupid narrative will hopefully stop that we touched on earlier.
Yeah, that
Because
is true.
the narrative is awful, and we need one of us to do it. And I'm hoping that we can do it next season. But if not us, then at least Norwich can do it this season. That being said, I think they will go down because I think they're pretty awful. So let's see what happens. But Jack, I've got to say, even just talking to you has made me even more excited for the Stoke game, for the Blackpool game, for the City game. It's such a good time to be a Fulham fan. And I think it feels better because we had that period when we didn't have any games and we were watching everyone just rack up the points and we couldn't do anything
We were
about
losing
it.
confidence.
We were losing confidence. There was people in the group chat saying we're not going up. What's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, that is just ludicrous, isn't it? So, it's good to be back enjoying Fulham games again. And the team seemed to have gone back to what we were seeing Barnsley and before that in terms of the 4-1 win and that run then. That's the performance levels we've gone back to, and it's good to see.
And hopefully it continues. Just before we go, just to mention that our very good friend Jack Stroudley was on a BBC Sports segment today talking all about, obviously, Fulham and what they're doing. It's on iPlayer. If you want to go and watch it, go to my Twitter where I've retweeted the tweet. Go to his Twitter. Give it a watch. His first big gig on TV. And I really want to shout him out because he's really good at what he does. And he's been on the
fantastic.
Jack and Joe show, SW6 Central, a couple of times as well. And look, he's going to be a bright. Well, he's going to do bits in the future. He's UCFB sort of route as well. So really, really good platform for him. Thanks everyone for watching. Let's get a couple of comments up before we go. Thanks very much, Wayne, for tuning in. Joe Sansom, come on Fulham then.
Come on Fulham. Thanks, Wayne. Thanks everyone for watching. Jack, has been great. Hope we can go live again soon. Might even be deadline day.
Well, deadline day and then Millwall midweek, maybe after that City win.
My word, yes.
If we beat City, we're going live that night, whether we're drunk or not.
If we beat City, I don't know what I'm going to do, mate. I don't know what I'm going to do.
It's going to be, I'll be on the Avanti train back trying to connect. Reese, yes, introduced the podcast before with that brilliant little voice note you sent in. After the Bristol City away game, I think that was, when we drew 1-1. Fantastic, Reese. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you back on Monday for another Jack and Joe show where we review the Stoke game, which, of course, inevitably finishes 1-1. See you later, guys. Come on, Fulham.